Steam locomotives in miniature at the Steam Workshop, Part 22, touching in the brown paintwork, filling the boiler and the side tanks with water, and making a small wooden floor. And currently I'm touching in the two countersunk bolts that are fitted in the last episode. And as to the debate on whether they're called bolts or screws, I think that it's obvious. This is my opinion anyway. If the screw or bolt has a nut on it, then it's definitely a bolt. If it goes into a pre-threaded hole in a piece of machinery, then it is a machine screw. And if it has a sharp, pointy, tapered thread on it, it is a screw, not a bolt. If it's one that goes into metal, it's a self-tapping screw. If it's one that goes into wood, it's a wood screw. So whether the bolts are screws, they do need touching in. It's no good leaving them shiny. And here is the edge, which has some white paint on it. And I'm also painting this out. And in this clip, I'm touching in the paintwork, which was marked by the handrail. In the last episode, when I filled the boiler with water, I was quite disappointed to see that all the water ran out of the boiler. And the water ran out of this clack on the right-hand side of the boiler. And as this clack valve is connected to the injector, the water ran out via the injector overflow. So clearly there is a problem. Time to dismantle the clack and have a look at it, and here's the problem. It's very dirty and the seat looks a little bit uneven. I could just replace the clack with a new one, but I prefer to repair the old one to keep the engine original. With the clack held lightly in the 3-jaw chuck by its threads, I'm recutting the internal port face using a milling cutter in the tailstock chuck. But the job's not quite finished yet. Before fitting the clack back to the engine, I need to do this. Please note this is the original stainless steel ball that I'm hitting with a piece of brass to seat it on the hole inside the clack valve. And what you've just seen me do is fit a brand new stainless steel ball to the clack, and that way I stand more of a chance of it working and sealing perfectly. With the help of a little bit of Loctite 542, I'm refitting the top cap. And in this clip, after applying some more Loctite 542 to the threads on the main fitting, it's now back in place in the boiler bush. So I'm going to try again and refill the boiler, and hopefully the water will not run out this time. It didn't run out immediately, by the way, it ran out overnight. So I'm carefully filling the boiler with some clean water. This is tap water, not distilled water or anything. We live in what's called a soft water area, so we don't need to filter the water. But depending on your locality, it's best to check whether you have soft or hard water. If you're not sure, have a look in your domestic kettle. If it's full of limescale, you're in a hard water area. A viewer asked me, how much did the engine weigh full of water? Well, here's the answer. I sat it on these weighing scales, and it weighed in at 177.7 pounds or 80.6 kilograms. Personally, I'm really not interested in how much the engine weighs, but what I am interested in is whether the engine sits level on the suspension, and I'm very pleased to say that yes, it does sit more or less level, within 1/8 of an inch anyway, which is fine. On a workbench to the right of me at the Steam Workshop is this, the 5-inch gauge model of an L&ER L1 locomotive, and it's upside down. And just look at the workmanship on this. And what is this machination of the devil, I hear you say? It's the axle-driven pump, and this is a 4-way axle-driven pump. And why is it a 4-way axle-driven pump? Because it allows the engine to run more smoothly. Every power stroke of the pistons in the cylinders correspond to a power stroke of the pump. If a miniature steam locomotive just has a single acting pump, that's okay, it will still pump water into the boiler, but generally they're not smooth and you can feel them working. The brass part at the front of this locomotive is the oil tank, and mechanically it's pretty clever really. To get everything to line up, there's a separate rocking shaft. I really am impressed with this. There are some problems with this engine that need putting right, that's why it's upside down on the bench, but I do like these mechanical linkages. And while on the subject of lubricators, it's time to put some steam oil into the lubricator on this engine. Please notice how thick this oil is. This is not ordinary oil, it's superheater steam oil or steam cylinder oil. Steam locomotives of this size and above have proper superheaters, so the steam is very hot indeed. It's very important to always use the right type of oil for the application. And now it's time to make a small wooden floor. So I'm using a piece of corrugated cardboard, which I've made a template out of, and you will notice that I'm double checking that it fits okay before I transfer this shape onto a piece of wood. When doing a job like this, it's fairly vital to make sure that the template is correct. If you cut it wrong, throw it away, it's only a piece of cardboard, because it's always a good idea to measure twice and cut once. And so, when I transfer the shape to the piece of wood and cut it out, the piece of wood fits quite well. This is a piece of wood as it came off the bandsaw. It's still a little bit tight, but it will fit perfectly once it's been sanded. Normally in my workshop I'd use a piece of plywood and stick mahogany planks to the plywood, and if you watch my videos frequently you'll have seen a lot of this. But the scribing method is okay also. Once I scribed the lines onto the piece of wood, I sanded it down, then I painted it with some furniture oil stuff that Dave at Steam Workshop gave to me to use. So that's about it. Time for a quick compressed air test to see if anything's leaking, and it doesn't appear to be, not like last time. So that's it from me, time to stop speaking. I'll just leave you with the engine running on the rolling road, just so that you can see the poetry in motion, which is a steam engine, or in this case a steam locomotive. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful.